So guys, this FMLA expansion with Family First has been a huge, they've been changing back and forth. Some of the parameters have changed back and forth about what's acceptable. So this is the most recent information right now, and it does not take effect until April the 2nd. So this covers employee size of 500 or less. So this takes, all of the small and mid-sized companies. These people, we're all being affected on this issue. So one thing I will say is that there are some exceptions. There are making some exemptions, but there's going to be more guidelines and forms to fill out that will hopefully be released next week. So if you do feel that by paying these outliers of money for your people who qualify for these payments, or if we have to shut down completely and go into a containment situation, if it's going to be detrimental to your business continuing, these different exemptions may qualify you for it, but it's not like a given. So you do have to fill out some information and then verify some different things before that will actually be granted. So let's take a look at some of the changes. The FMLA expansion, if you're already offering FMLA because of your company size or the way your company is actually set up, then as you know it, FMLA is going to be very different. So before it was 1,250 hours you had to work before you can get it. Now it's just, if they worked in the last 30 days, the person would actually be able to get the benefit of this expansion. The paid sick leave is an issue as well. I know you guys have probably heard 80 hours of paid sick leave. You can't have them use their own. This is over and beyond what they already have. So it's not like they're using their sick leave bank. This is actual 80 hours that the employer is actually expected to pay. Now they are coming up with the payroll tax credit. A lot of that stuff has already been established. Your payroll provider will probably have a lot more information on that for you. But the money that you've already taken out for your taxes, payroll taxes for the first quarter, that amount of money may be available to you to use to pay people in the interim. So that's what they're looking to do with a dollar for dollar match on that amount. So let's look at the expansion. So people who have kids that have to go home to care for their kids because school has been closed, those people are covered. Now, not until yesterday, I've kept seeing kids and children, but no real age was given to who that would actually cover. So I thought, like other people thought, if the person or the kid was able to stay home legally by themselves, then maybe that wouldn't be a covered situation. But they're actually saying less than under the age of 18. So that's anybody with kids from grade school to middle school. If their kids' school is closed or the daycare is closed, those people will be eligible for that benefit. One other thing is if they do go home to care for kids that are out of school, then a 2/3 rate of what they normally would be paid is what would be actually expected. So it's not their full pay, it's 2/3 of their pay. And it's up to $200 per day. And then there's an actual cap on that amount as well of $2,000. If the person is sick for any reason themselves, have any symptoms, need to self-contain or have been directed to, be contained, then those people have a cap of $511 per day and up to $5,110 total. So that's just something to take a look at. That's the newest version by the Secretary of Labor, for that. So I would take a look at that. However, still, if you feel that this benefit would jeopardize your viability as a business, then you are able to at least ask for an exemption. And like I said, that paperwork and forms all that information should be released next week so people can get started, because they are looking to have this start on April 2nd. Are there any questions so far? Okay. So a big question is how small businesses would actually fund the benefit. And as we talked before, that's from your tax credits. That's from the money you've already had withheld from your payroll taxes. That money is supposed to be matched dollar for dollar to get to pay for this leave to your employees. It's hopefully able to keep your workers working and on the payrolls during this time that's going on. That's what they're hoping this is able to do. But some key things to take a look at, some key takeaways from this new expanded FMLA is the immediate advantage of the paid leave credits. This can be retained and people can access the funds almost immediately based on your payroll taxes. And if it's not enough, you can seek some sort of expedited IRS funding. But there should be a claim form. They say streamlined, so I hope it's not anything long and drawn out and difficult, so people can have ready access to those funds to make sure people get paid. But it is 80 hours of paid sick leave. So the funds are supposed to be fast. Small business protection, guys, especially for companies 25 or less, they're saying that the likelihood of that exemption is very likely. I spoke to someone today who, is well beyond that amount, and it does put an undue burden on the person, especially if your business is a, cash in, cash out every day type of thing, to where it's not like a monthly payment you're getting from someone, but this is like a cash in and cash out daily type of business. Then it does put a big strain. And I would try to start looking at what you have. I'm not sure what questions they're going to ask. I'm not sure what they will look for the exemption. But if you have your financials, I would definitely start pulling those together and taking a look of your people and what you're paying them, so you have a census of an idea of what your outlaying cash looks like, and just be prepared to be able to offer that information. Now, there also is, if you're trying to comply with this new expansion, they're given a 30-day non-enforcement period. If you're making good faith efforts to comply, they're doing a 30-day non-enforcement period, which means you won't get fined for not complying if you are actually trying to comply with this actual expansion. So April 2nd is the start. So 30 days from there, you have time to try to figure out how you're going to stay compliant for this expansion. So next week, the guidance is supposed to be released to see who qualifies for what, forms to get expedited funding to take care of the payroll for the people you're trying to retain. This is going to come from your federal income taxes that we talked about, different things you'll be able to do. And if it's not sufficient, you're able to expedite the process and ask for the IRS to immediately come up, hopefully, with money. So here's an example that they've given. So if an eligible employer paid $5,000 in sick leave and is otherwise required to deposit $8,000 in payroll taxes, including taxes withheld from all of its employees, the employer should use or could use up to $5,000 of the $8,000 of taxes it was going to deposit from making qualified leave payments. If the employer would only be required under the law to deposit the remaining $3,000 on its next regular deposit date. So if you have a deposit time of quarterly, then that next quarter is when the additional money would be due. So if an eligible employer paid $10,000 in sick leave and was required to deposit $8,000 in taxes, then the employer would use the entire $8,000 of taxes in order to make qualified leave payments, and then file a request for an accelerated credit for the remaining $2,000 that it would owe to pay the sick leave. Now, if you are a self-employed individual, there's also tax credits on the income tax return to reduce those estimated payments. And so if your taxes haven't been done, I mean, you can try to get the credit in that way. If you're an employer and you have a W-2, if you own the business but you're a W-2 employee, then there's also some benefits as well. We've talked to people about the shared plan that the Texas Workforce Commission has posted on its website, whereas if the person's not sick, they're not being quarantined, and they don't have kids, you can actually try to reduce them to half pay, and then they can get the rest from unemployment. And that's the shared plan. You might want to go on the TWC website and take a look at the shared plan to see if that's something that may be able to work for you to make sure you retain your employees. I know a big thing with employers right now, because we do seem to have more jobs than qualified people for those jobs, people are getting very concerned about keeping the people that they have through this pandemic. So you may want to take a look at the share plan to see if that's something that could work for you to help you retain the people that you have. And so if you need more information, the IRS.gov website has a coronavirus tax relief tab on there. I would go there and take a look at that. There's going to be something posted there to show you how to do an advance payment for the credit, and that's going to be posted next week. So you want to make sure you log there and bookmark it so you can keep checking back to see when that happens. We're definitely going to roll something out when it does, when it is released, so we can talk about that as well. I want to say that this is actually into effect until December 31st. So April 2nd to December 31st is when this is actually happening. So if you have any questions or you would like to have some information emailed to you, please reach out and let us know. But the main takeaways is if the person has to care for children and the school is closed and daycare is closed, which we know that's pretty much standard across the board, those employees can go home. You can pay them 2/3 of their salary. That we do know. If they, for whatever reason, get the disease themselves or have to self-quarantine, those items, the person would be actually eligible for this expanded FMLA as well. Up to $200 for people going home to care for kids, and up to $511 per day for those that fall under the two other criteria. If people are still working in your office or working from home, I'm not sure exactly how long. I mean, you get a mixed bag when you're watching some of the news and what's going on right now. But if the offices will be have a mandatory close, if that's the case, then it's going to be a little bit different, and people will fall under the, having to quarantine, and then those payments will have to be made. And you just have to see if that's something that your business can afford to do, how you can afford to do it, and what kind of position that kind of puts you in. So I would just really try to run scenarios before it happened. Take a look at all of your employees, take a look at their hourly wage, take a look at people who are going home to care for kids, look at 2/3 of their salary, look at the other people that are working, look at what that amount looks like. So you get an idea of what your outline cash would have to be, and also take a look at what payroll taxes that have been withheld since January, and take a look at those items to see what you can do as well. I know I'm not a tax expert, but I understand there's some not new, but there's some different things you can do with your taxes and different contributions that you can make to try to help that situation out as well. So I would maybe get with the tax person and speak to them about that. If whoever your payroll provider is, I would talk to them and see what your account looks like, so you can know what is in there and how, if there's a shortfall, you can figure out what that looks like for your business. If you want to hop on a call, a 15-minute consultation, please go to our website at smarterhrsolutions.com and go to the contact us page, and you can ask questions there, or you can use the calendar link and reserve a spot. I'll be more than happy to run scenarios with you, talk to you about different things, or kind of kick around some ideas of how you could try to get through this thing without having your business, doors closed. And I think that's the biggest thing. I'm a small business owner myself, and I'm having, there's some things I'm going to have to do when it comes to paying our employees here that, who knew that this stuff actually, would get to this point. But whatever information I have, I want to continue to share it with you. I'll email you. I'll try to get back on a webinar with you just to get some information as I get it and receive it. And if you have any questions, if I can connect you to a tax person or a CPA, or if I can connect with anybody, I'll be more than happy to do so. I think one of my CPAs are on the phone right now. I think Sandra is with us. And Sandra, if I get any information or any questions, I will definitely send people your way.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome. So we have time. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, please reach out. If you will have a confidential question you want to ask, please do so. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thank you and have a great day.